Hello everybody, it is me, Pacific. Wow. So another night in Ferguson, Missouri with the citizens in certain area doing it again. Tear gas had to be used, etc. Deshaya makes a very good video about justice for Mike Brown, and she brings up points I didn't even think of. Not to totally piggyback on it, but she is right. When people in America with media-driven sensationalist drama cases like this, and make no mistake about it, the media fans into flame the anger, and the media sits back, licks their chops after a delicious steak dinner and says, ooh, 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 I love all the controversy. The media salivates. Like I said, maybe we ought to start prosecuting the media for interfering with true justice. They color and paint and taint a story to go in their favor to create more evening news. Coming up next, we'll tell you all about the trouble in Ferguson, Missouri. Do the news people care about justice? Nah. News is news. News is a capitalistic endeavor backed by huge corporate dollars of advertising, and when Americans finally wake up to the fact that the only news you're going to get is what corporate America wants you to get, and it doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. News is driven by big dollars. I rest my case. The people screaming out for justice for Michael Brown are rioting and tearing stuff up. They even went as far as to going back into the convenience store that Michael Brown was alleged of robbing a box of cigars and roughing up a male clerk. Isn't that nice? And those are the ones screaming for justice? What is their definition of justice? Justice based on the color of one's skin? Justice based on a cop who's being accused? His family and himself being in danger? How come cases like this are tried in the streets and not in the courtroom? How come people who weren't even there to see this go down automatically decide, based on the color of man's skin, that, well, the cops and everybody else must be wrong? Well, I've got an idea. I don't know the parents of Michael Brown. I don't know what they're like. But maybe they ought to be tried. Maybe we ought to see what kind of parents they were or weren't. Did they raise their son to behave like this? Could be. Maybe the cost of all that ought to be laid at their feet. The cost of all the riots, the cost of police protection, enforcement, everything. Just saying. No. The facts that are rolling in day by day is that Michael Brown was in the middle of the street, refused to move when an officer asked him, and he came up and got confrontational with a police officer. I was raised a long time ago to say that when the police officer pulls you over or talks to you, you be polite and you be respectful. Today's crop of people, they don't believe that. And all the people screaming for justice in Ferguson, Missouri right now, they don't really want justice. That's a smoke screen. They want favoritism. They want the right for somebody of their ethnicity to be able to do whatever he wants without anybody else calling it into question. That's what they want. They want an excuse to riot, take stuff that isn't theirs, bust up property, and act like a bunch of imbeciles. Somebody wrote me on my channel, and I promptly blocked him yesterday, said, the white man using the word thug is a code word for the N-word. That is false. That has no basis in truth whatsoever. I define a thug as one who does what is going on right now. Resisting the police, robbing stores, rioting, burning, looting. That's thugs. wearing your pants down where your butt crack hangs out and your ball cap on backwards and listening to foul rap music and being a complete drag on society. Those are thugs. One moment. I have to shut the door. The dog keeps going in and out. Pacific is getting tired of cases being decided on the color of a man's skin without no facts. Oh, white cop shot a black man. He must be automatically guilty. As long as things are ethnically charged, I have a hard time hearing one group of people saying we're all about justice. Deshaun makes a good point. If you're all about justice, let's wait for the evidence to roll in first. But no. In America, we have certain people, certain groups of people that rush to judgment without any facts, that were not there, that didn't see anything happen. Aren't you glad that our U.S. Constitution doesn't allow for that? That if you cannot afford an attorney, the court will appoint one for you. That you can be judged by a jury of your peers. You see, if justice were determined by what's going on in Ferguson, guess what would happen to Pacific? I'd be in deep trouble, because I'm the wrong color. Justice would be decided on the color of one's skin, not by the behavior of an individual. As I stated yesterday, so I'll state again, Michael Brown is not guiltless. Michael Brown's actions that day, he was emboldened by stealing a box of cigars and roughing up a clerk, emboldened to stand in the street and not move and respect authority. He put a flaming target on his back. What I don't know is what happened that led up to the shooting. Neither does anybody else rioting in the streets. They don't know. But we have a bunch of people in Ferguson, Missouri that either don't work jobs, that do drugs, do illicit behavior, are drags on society, and they use this as an opportunity to riot, get their 5 minutes of fame and a camera, making America, the greatest nation on earth, look like the most pathetic bunch of losers the world has ever seen. I look at the behavior of these people rioting. A curfew was imposed yesterday, and they're going to break it, and they're going to act up. No, those people doing that behavior wouldn't like me in power. Because if I was the governor, and I agree with Tony and others for the comments they made, this would have been ended by 3 a.m. the first night. Call out the military. You guys want justice? Well, I want justice too for all the property you've destroyed. Send some tanks out on the street, and let's call it a war zone. They've declared war. Well, let's declare war back and win. I've said that about the gangs. Homeland Security does nothing about the real problems. Where's Homeland Security right now? Where are they? How come Homeland Security isn't down there shutting that down? Pretty sad, isn't it? See, I'm not into playing footsie with people like that. I'm not into negotiating. I'm not into political correctness with people that behave like that. Bring in the tanks and make a bold statement and say, you guys had better get out of the streets and go back home, or we're going to shut this all down right now. And there's going to be a lot more people laying in the streets dead. No, America's under siege now. It's under siege by people that behave in ghetto fashion. It's under siege by people constantly throwing in the white man's face the race card. Race card implies that anything you say or do will always be used against you in the court of prevailing public community opinion. Thank God our Constitution and state constitutions aren't written that way. Innocent until proven guilty. How come that doesn't apply to the cop? I know why. Because he's white. What if the cop had been black? What if the cop had been black? Oh, I know what would have been said. He'd be called an Oreo. Or maybe this wouldn't have blown into what it is now. Have we gotten to the point now where the only way to deal with problems is that we will have respective colored police departments and respective governing bodies for that neighborhood and keep the whites out of it? So much for the United States of America and celebrate diversity. It seems to me that there are certain groups of people that are creating and promoting racism and racial intolerance more than some of the whites I know. I'm tired of it. I see it all across this land. It seems that it's okay to bang, punk on, and diss the white people and accuse them and brand them as racist. And I look at your behavior, tearing up Ferguson, Missouri, robbing the convenience or breaking into the convenience store and tearing things up, where Michael Brown was messing around in to begin with. What is that? Oh, anger and rage? For what? Do you really care about this man that was shot? Did you all care about raising him right? All of you? You see, I know for a fact that that whole community of people, half of them didn't even know Michael Brown. Had no blood connection to him, whatever. It's just an excuse. It's just an excuse to take things that aren't yours, to smash things that aren't yours that you didn't work hard for. People like that are the real definition of losers. I wonder if those same people would justify me for the anger that I've had over the years of watching certain people of ethnicity do things that are just wrong to me. Do I have a right to go and burn their house down and steal their flat screen TV and their boom box and their car? Of course not. Justice defined by people like this is one-sided, race-based, and not founded in truth at all. All they want to see is a cop fired, and they're not just happy with that. Some of these people, if they could, would like to see him killed. That's how strong some of this racism is. I think I've said enough on this topic. But when cases like this, be very careful when you hear people say justice for this person or for that person. Really? Can I hold up a banner that says justice for the property owners and everybody else who had damage done to them that had nothing to do with this? That means all your butts ought to be put in jail. You ought to make full restitution, and you ought to get on public Ferguson television and say, I'm sorry, I was acting like a thug and tore up so-and-so's property because I was motivated by racial hatred. No, we're not going to do that, are we? America's the greatest country in the world, where thugs can proliferate, thugs can get away with stuff, and the media fans in the flame every day with the bellows. And the media sits back and smiles as they reel in the news coverage. I have to say it again. Maybe we need to start looking at the United States media and ask what is their real intentions in all of this. I said the other day that we shouldn't shut down cameras and videotaping of the police. But maybe we should shut down the actual news stations, because they've already proven that they don't have a vested interest in truth and justice and fairness. Their only angle is, let's make stories. Let's have something go down where people can watch. Again, I submit to you that when you see news teams standing there filming this stuff, you got to wonder, why aren't they doing something to stop this? I know. People argue, well, they are. They're broadcasting it. It doesn't seem to matter to these thugs. We live in a day and age where the camera doesn't even scare these people. No, it's not about justice for Michael Brown. What's lacking here is I'd like to see the real justice for something called the truth. The truth of what happened, the truth of who initiated this, which was Michael Brown. The actions of Michael Brown were not consistent with the laws of the land. This issue has nothing to do with race at all. And a certain aspect of a certain community is making it a race card issue. This has to do with a man's actions. This has to do with a mood that's going all across America's land that says, I don't need to be held accountable for anything I do and say. Will the real man stand up and take accountability for his actions? Will the real black men rioting and looting and tearing things up in Ferguson take a look at themselves in the mirror and ask themselves how they can define that as manhood? Personally, I'm getting tired of Ferguson making the news. Because with all due respect, Ferguson is a nowhere town, and it can't seem to make the news for anything good. Now it's got to make the news for the drama and the racial issues akin to the Watts riots, the Rodney King scenario. Sad. This is Pacific signing off. Bye-bye.